The Pittsburgh Steelers entered the 1983 season with two simple objectives: reclaim the Central Division title and once again make the NFL playoffs. But right from the start, that was both good news and bad. The bad news came on offense, where quarterback Terry Bradshaw's injured elbow would keep him out of action for all but one shining moment. The good news was on defense, where the young Steelers couldn't wait to start hitting.
First of all, I'm not much one for comparing anybody. You know, I think that when we had Joe Green and Ernie Holmes and Dwight White and Elstree Greenwood in their prime, I doubt if anybody could compare to them, you know, as a group. But we have some people here this year now that seem to have the potential to be as good. You know, whether they become as good or not is up to them.
The 1983 Pittsburgh Steelers faced a formidable task. Could a team with 25 players, with 3 years of NFL experience or less, a team playing without its #1 quarterback, still be a contender? You betcha. They didn't make it to Super Bowl 18, but inexperience and adversity didn't stop them from putting together a 7-game winning streak en route to recapturing the Central Division title. The 1983 Pittsburgh Steelers, a team with that certain something of which champions are made.
Who's going to win that game today?
Early in the season, optimism was abundant in the pregame carnivals outside Three Rivers Stadium.
Number 1.
Quarterback Terry Bradshaw was present in spirit only, but the Steeler faithful hardly seemed concerned. For it didn't take Cliff Stout long to discover the ageless wonder that was Franco Harris. At 33 years of age, Franco was no longer a game breaker, but his inside surges resulted in 5 100-yard games, a record 8th 1,000-yard season, and another rung on the all-time rushing ladder.
All right, it is first down, 10 to go, and the crowd has come alive. Stout sends Abercrombie in motion, gives the ball to Harris. Harris running to the right. He turns up over the 25, out of bounds near the 30, and he has broken O.J.'s record, and then some. He is now the #2 all-time rusher in the National Football League. Jim Brown stands alone in front of him, and this crowd of almost 60,000 people standing and applauding. Well, just the greatest man to ever wear that number 32.
And his teammates come out on the field to meet him. They greet him 15 yards out on the field from the sideline. They're mobbing Franco Harris. Franco has surpassed the juice. Is he not one beautiful moose?
What did you say?
I said you can count on Franco. He's money in the banco. Here come the Steelers off the field. The guys on the field are coming off the field. Everybody is descending upon Franco, whom we all know and love.
Despite Franco's individual milestone, after 4 weeks of the regular season, the Steelers' record stood at a mediocre 2-2. It was time for the Steeler defense to assert itself, drawing its inspiration from 9-time Pro Bowler Jack Lambert. Whether punishing passers, burying ball carriers, or ruining receivers, Jack Lambert always makes his presence felt.
Jack wants to win very intensely, and he takes a great deal of pride in what he does. He's an intelligent man. He's a leader. He's the leader of our football team, and because of that, I think it's great to have a guy like that around with so many young guys coming on our football team the last couple of years.
One of Pittsburgh's outstanding young players was second-year free safety Rick Woods, whose Monday night touchdown against the Bengals was one of 7 scored by last year's Steeler defense. Second-year linebacker Brian Hinkle carried one in to help beat the Houston Oilers. Not to be outdone, second-year linebacker Mike Merriweather did the same against Cleveland.
In and out of the arms of the receiver, intercepted by Merriweather. He's down over the 20 to 15 to 10 to 5. Merriweather goes into the end zone for a touchdown.
A tragic auto accident cut short the career of top draft choice Gabriel Rivera. But a pair of 24-year-old defensive ends fell into place around 23-year-old nose tackle Edmund Nelson and picked up the slack, pressuring enemy passes into 28 interceptions, the 3rd best total in the NFL, while allowing just 3.6 yards per rushing attempt, the 2nd lowest total in all of football. Pittsburgh's strongest defensive area was its pass rush, where those young defensive ends, one a former top draft choice, the other a free agent, spearheaded the finest Steeler pass rush in a decade.
It was my first time in NFL camp, and I was the first-round draft choice, and I knew that a lot of people were expecting a lot of big things from me. But after everything fell into place and started playing well, all of a sudden I'm one of the guys.
As for Keith Willis, had it not been for his enterprising agent, Willis might never have played pro football.
After the 12th round of the draft, he went to several teams and tried to get me tryouts, considering I didn't get drafted. And he talked to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they gave me the opportunity, so I took advantage of the opportunity.
Willis's 14 sacks established a new single-season Steeler record. And together with Gary and veterans John Goodman, Tom Beasley, and the greatly underrated Gary Dunn, the Steelers posted 50 sacks while punishing passes in the manner of the old steel curtain.
I'd felt without a doubt they had as good a pass rush as we had seen in quite a while. I don't know who lights the fire under them, whether it's Chuck Noll or their personal defensive line coach, but I tell you what, those guys are crazed animals. They really rush the passer.
Never was the defense better than on Monday Night Football against the Bengals.
Schonert goes back. Here they come after him. He gets the pass away. Picked off on the far side. That's Clayton with the ball. Over the 50, the 40. He's down to the 30, the 20, the 10, the 5. He's going all the way for a touchdown. Harvey Clayton, who's played a tremendous game.
A team record 9 sacks, 3 interceptions, and 3 defensive touchdowns. One of the finest defensive performances in Steeler history. A clear sign that Pittsburgh's tough young defense has the right stuff.
Play fake by Stout. Stout running out of the pocket to the right. They're after him. So far, they haven't got him to the far side. Lobs one down to Abercrombie to 30 to 25. It's going all the way for a Pittsburgh touchdown. Walter pulled it in. The play covered 51 yards on the pass and run. Abercrombie scores for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Big plays on offense came less frequently, but in his second NFL season, Walter Abercrombie blossomed into Pittsburgh's big play man. And his 50-yard scamper against the Oilers was Pittsburgh's longest run of the regular season.
Here's Abercrombie coming up the middle, over the 45, the 40, down to the 30, the 20. Kiss it goodbye, it's a touchdown.
Reserve runner Frank Pollard led all NFL non-starters with a career-high 608 yards. And his 4.5-yard rushing average was second on the Steelers, only to quarterback Cliff Stout, whose 479 yards rushing paced all NFL signal callers. It wasn't always pretty to watch, but Pittsburgh's fully orchestrated ground attack was the second best in the AFC. Passing was Pittsburgh's problem area. Extended injuries to starters John Stallworth and Greg Hawthorne often made Calvin Sweeney the only experienced wide out in the lineup. Fortunately, a trio of rookies helped ease the burden. Number 81, Paul Scansey, and number 86, Greg Garrity, made the club on their ability as possession receivers. Second-round pick Wayne Capers showed promise as a deep threat. Six-time Pro Bowl center Mike Webster anchored a banged-up offensive line whose veterans missed 25 games due to injuries. But in spite of it all, the Steeler offense found ways to score. And of course, when all else failed, second-year place kicker Gary Anderson was nearly perfect, hitting 27 of 31 field goal attempts, earning himself a spot in the Pro Bowl.
An inside linebacker, number 58, Jack Lambert.
By week 11, the streaking Steelers had won 6 straight games, prompting more than 23,000 Pittsburgh fans to take bus rides to Baltimore's Memorial Stadium. In no time at all, they had the place sounding like Pittsburgh's own Three Rivers Stadium. The Baltimore Colts just never had a chance. Baltimore's league-leading ground attack disappeared beneath the Steelers' surging defense. And improving young offense found the range for 3 sustained scoring drives.
Here they come after him, and he fires, and it is caught for a touchdown by Calvin Sweeney with a man right up on top of him. Calvin Sweeney slanted to the near side, just in the end zone. And he was covered by Kim Anderson, the nickelback. He went up in the air and he made a magnificent catch for the TD.
In their most convincing win of the season, the red-hot Steelers marched up and down Memorial Stadium like they owned it. Only an official episode of pass interference prevented the score from being worse. Super Bowl fever was heating up, and the Pittsburgh Steelers' chances at a 5th silver trophy looked good. But just when things appeared their brightest, the Steelers' rising star fell back to earth. Minnesota snapped the Steeler win streak at 7. 4 days later, an injury-riddled Steeler team limped into Detroit, where they suffered their worst defeat in nearly 4 decades. Back home in a must-win situation against the Cincinnati Bengals, the Steelers once again couldn't find a winning formula. Just 2 games remained, and the Pittsburgh Steelers desperately needed a win to make the playoffs.
We're a little banged up. We're struggling a little bit, obviously, but we feel that we can still get the job done. We have 2 more opportunities, and we've had a good week of practice this week, and it's a real challenge for us this week to play the Jets.
Line. Here's Bradshaw on the move, firing into the end zone. Complete to Greg Garrity for the touchdown. Garrity beating Jerry Holmes. He took him right out of his suit. Bradshaw dropping back. Here comes the rush. Fires it down right near the goal line. It is pulled in by Calvin Sweeney for the touchdown.
Terry Bradshaw was back, and the scoreboard reflected it. His ailing elbow lasted only 1 quarter, but his mere presence in uniform inspired Pittsburgh's defensive veterans to go out and nail down a title. Inside linebacker Lauren Taves took away the outside from Jet running back Freeman McNeil, while outside backer Robin Cole dropped into a 3-point stance, then single-handedly engineered a change of possession. Cornerback Dwayne Woodruff buried Richard Todd on a blitz, and when Todd was allowed to throw, Mel Blunt, Donnie Shell, and number 29, Ron Johnson, each picked off a pass. Under Bradshaw's watchful eye, the Steeler offense began putting things together. Tight end Benny Cunningham and wide receiver Calvin Sweeney both scored touchdowns as Pittsburgh walloped the Jets 34-7, clinching their 10th trip to the playoffs in 12 seasons. They'd come a long way, these 1983 Steelers, overcoming injuries, inexperience, and unexpected adversity. But on New Year's Day in the LA Coliseum, their season came to its conclusion. They had their moments early on, but in the end, it was a subdued Steeler sideline that looked on as the LA Raiders hurdled their first obstacle en route to the Super Bowl. The Pittsburgh Steelers shared their fans' disappointment, for the bond that exists between the town and this team goes far beyond Sunday afternoon.
I think that That has been one of the great things in sports that I can really look back and see that the Pittsburgh Steelers pulled together a community and made them believe in themselves.
Cornerback Mel Blount helped fashion that belief. As one of the original members of the Steel Curtain, Blount retired as Pittsburgh's all-time leader in games played and passes intercepted. Mel Blount leaves behind a young defense that ranks as one of football's best.
Defensively, we played well throughout the season. Our offense is what tailed off. We weren't able to put the points on the board to take the load off the defense.
That's where players such as four-year veteran Mark Malone come in. This season, the former top draft choice gets his chance to win a starting job, and his slingshot passing arm and leadership qualities promise to make the quarterback contest interesting. Joining the Steelers from Miami is hard-throwing four-year pro David Woodley. Woodley is the youngest man ever to start at quarterback in a Super Bowl, and his new teammates are well aware of his touchdown-throwing talent. So fear not, Steeler fans, for the future of the franchise is bright.
You know, a lot of people forget we won our division championship this year, which isn't good enough in Pittsburgh anymore, you know, unless you win a Super Bowl. But if I ever come to the point in my career where I'm not optimistic about the upcoming season, I think it's time for me to retire. I don't think there was any lack of effort on my teammates' part this year. I think everybody played as hard as they could. But if you don't have the people on your football team, no matter who your coaches are, you're not going to get to a Super Bowl. And the young people we have are going to be good football players. And they got quite a bit of playing time last year, so I'm hoping for good things next year.
They have the right stuff to win the division. And in 1984, they'll have a lot more of it.